and maybe he wouldn't have approached me to go to Jamaica, but he saw this young guy, 22 years old, into the music, loved the trumpet, loved the culture. He says, okay, let me give this cat a shot, you know.
How wonderful.
And he did that, and everyone when I went there treated me with love and respect, and I wanted more of that.
Yeah. Sugar was like a daddy to lots of people.
Sugar Minott put so many people on. He had youth promotion sound.
Uh-huh.
Really.
Helped the young ones.
Yeah, a lot of people. Junior Reed, a lot of these young guys came up through Sugar Minott, you know, Half Pint. I did the first tour. I mean, I'll never forget it, Sugar Minott. The first tour, Half Pint, Junior Reed, Michael Palmer, Sugar Minott. It was the youth promotion tour. And I remember these young artists as young men, and they're all household names now in the reggae industry. And I remember I was on their first tours. And other people, too, back in the day, with, coming under Sugar Minott's, you know.
What a great experience.
Awesome.
So let me ask you a question I've always thought about. Is the Jamaican groove strictly a technical way of playing music, or is there a cultural learning curve that comes with it?
Yeah, because I think my experience with Cedric Brooks taught me that too, because he played with Count Ozzy and the great Lloyd Knibb, also the great Skylights drummer. These guys talked about going to Rasta camps and sitting in with the Rastas and playing music. Tommy McCook. Lloyd Knibb gave me a funny story one time. They had finished a tour of England or something like that. And they came home, they had flown into Jamaica, and before these guys even went home, they would go to the Rasta camp, smoke up them herb, and just hold a vibe, you know? And these were jazz musicians. These were people that had the academic prowess, and these were like studied cats. But for some reason, this is something that they needed to acquire in their DNA to be able to go on and do what they did, you know. And there's some stuff online. I really love a tribute to Count Ozzy. Tommy McCook's playing some really great stuff. You see it online, and this Rasta drumming, these guys told me were very important to their development of the music. Yeah, Lloyd Knibb, Cedric Brooks, all these guys would talk about spending a lot of time drumming and just sort of getting into the essence of what was to come.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that to me is a good preparation just for rhythmic development, spiritual development, and just having a creative mind. I know it's.
So did you get an opportunity to either see the mystic revelation of Rastafari or go to the Rasta camps like Pinnacle or any of the others that were holding?
Not in Jamaica, but over the years I was involved with the 12 Tribes of Israel band, and there were certain sessions and certain situations where these things would occur, of course. And then being with Cedric Brooks, I think in Jamaica at one point Cedric Brooks was like the only guy really doing like African rhythms. He had some Afrobeat records out and all these kinds of things. So yeah, and in New York there's Brother Jeremiah. There's a group of Nyabingi drummers that I frequently perform with. I've done some recordings of my own that I haven't released yet, but I have a bunch of stuff on my hard drive of just Nyabingi sessions with me. Yeah, I got to hit you off with some of that stuff.
Hit me up with some
I do, I will. I have all that kind of stuff on my hard drive. I can just give you guys a little taste. So, yeah.
Cool. That's cool.
Indeed.
So in 1983, when you did Reggae Sunsplash, that was the year, I think, that Sugar Minott left for London, where there was a big UK lovers rock scene happening.
Well, let me tell you, when I met Sugar Minott, he had recorded a song called Sandy, and it probably reached, if it didn't reach #1 in the British charts, it reached single digits in the British charts. Sugar was the man at that. When Sugar came from England in 1983, because that had happened I'll never forget that, because when Sugar took me to his home that time in 83, he was showing me some of the plaques of some of the stuff that he had acquired in England from singing this song, Sandy.
Yeah.
And a couple other things, and he was like the king of lovers rock for a long time in England. So right at that time, when he came back to Jamaica, I mean, if you look at that footage even at the 1983 Sunsplash, we closed it. It was probably 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and the place was packed.
Right.
So he really had come back to Jamaica.
I think I was there.
Well, that was the year Musical Youth. Musical Youth, my God. I saw Gregory Isaacs for I mean, it was just a culture shock for me, totally just blown away by that whole experience. I've done probably 5 or 6 of them and some fests and anyway, Japan's been many of those things since then, but that first one was really like mind blower.
So was the fact that that Sugar went to London, was that part of the transition for you to meet Sidney Mills and Steel Pulse, or was that in New York?
Yeah, Sidney Mills.
connection.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny. I think about him all the time, and I don't remember meeting him. I've known him for so long. I always say that about Sidney Mills. I don't remember meeting him, but he and I became very, very close in the early days, and he was the one that actually introduced me to David Hines, that whole Steel Pulse area. Sidney Mills and I came up in the early 80s playing with a group called Calabash, backing artists. My first time going to California was with Marcia Griffiths playing at the Hollywood Bowl, opening for Fela Kuti.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
Crazy. Didn't even know about him, didn't know what Afrobeat was, didn't know anything. So all these things through Jamaican music, I've learned a lot about a lot of things and had some really great experiences. And Sidney Mills and I today we're closer than ever. He's actually mixing my record, the NYC Ska Orchestra record we're working on. So we're all still very
great.
close. You know, post Steel Pulse days.
So you were with Steel Pulse for about 7 years.
Yeah.
How did that elevate your career, or did it?
Yeah. I think at that time, Steel Pulse was riding pretty high. You know, they had won a Grammy at that time. And Stevie Wonder, they were associating. They were really doing quite well at that time. And when they asked us to come on, things were going well. You know, yeah, it was kind of like the height of the rock and roll vibe for me. You know, kind of
it's fun.
having the amenities. And I think at that time, if you want to talk about financially, I think that was kind of one of the top
Indeed.
times of my life. Made a couple bucks and high profile. I was singing and playing, and there was one part of the show I actually came out and did this little rap thing, and yeah, I got some accolades from being in that situation.
That's very
It was
cool.
great. I had a
I
great
love to
time.
see artists that bring the new artists on and give them, especially you're a musician for the most part. You're now singing also, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But sometimes the musicians don't get that opportunity to sing and be a
Yeah,
forefront person.
it's true. It's
That's
true.
good.
I just think it's the energy that you bring. You know, I kind of call myself sometimes a problem solver. You know, I want to add to the solving of the problems. I don't want to take away from anything. So if I can add to it, yeah, I'll do it. You know.
Great attitude. So then in the early, we haven't quit yet, there's just so much, but in the early 2000s, you formed a working relationship with the Studio One group, the Scatolites.
Yep.
And that's where I've always seen you, is with the Scatolites. And then you participated in their 40th anniversary tour, which must have been an amazing thing.
Awesome.
How did that impact your career going forward? And you keep mentioning Cedric Brooks. Surely he became one of your best friends, it sounds like.
Big influence, best friend. You know, obviously came in how we met Micah in Gainesville, working with him and everything with Cedric. Micah can attest that he's just, I called him our musical father. I always would say that. And he was just a very influential person. It was great playing with him in the Scatolite. Yeah, we had just a great relationship on and off stage.
So the Scatolites continue to, as the older folks pass away, it
Yeah.
regenerates itself. How do you feel about that?
Well, how do I feel about that? For me, the experience was those people being with us. You know, Mr. Brevitt,
Oh, yes.
Lester Sterling, and Mr. Nib, and I mean even Jackie Matu. I mean, I knew all those guys, and they all were great people. So that was really the epitome of the experience for me, just being around these great people. And so when they started to sort of die out a little bit, I just decided that I wanted to move on too, because it was part of a history lesson for me as a non-Jamaican. That meant everything to me, being with those people, you know? And I think it's good that it regenerates, but I think sometimes you still have to have some authentic elements. Like now, Doreen Schaefer's still there, which is a good thing. And as long as they try and keep some authentic element in it, it should continue, because now all of those gentlemen have passed on. So I would say it's a good thing. The people still enjoy it. They still seem to have quite a few appearances and everything, and half of those guys are still good friends of mine, and I still love the music and all of that. So yeah, I think if they can keep it as authentic as they can, whatever that means to them, because you still have guys around, Glenn DaCosta, you still have Vin Gordon,
Right.
Carl Bryant from Studio One, he still lives in Canada. Yeah, if they can keep that little bit of spice in it, I think people would appreciate the fact that instead of it just being 8 people on stage playing Scatolites.
Is there a different audience for ska than reggae?
Yes, I think so. I think that reggae in America now has definitely diminished especially on the East Coast, because mostly we get dance hall shows on the East Coast, and the reggae scene is really kind of limited there. You know, in Europe, you're gonna get a much bigger accepting crowd for both. You know, all those beautiful festivals. I mean, you know, Rototom. You look at the lineup, and it's a good array of different types of stuff. You know, Groundation was on it this year, and like so. You know, everyone's kind of coming out to really get a full package of stuff. Yeah. In New York, we don't have shows really like that anymore, unless they're touring bands that come through. You know, Chronics or Capleton, and these guys come through, but we don't really have a really strong reggae scene. So hopefully, you know, it'll get better. But for me, my bread's been buttered in Europe for the last whenever, you know, years.
I think a lot of musicians say reggae musicians say that. So we'll have to do another interview just on that topic.
Yeah.
We'll put that on the checklist.
Yes.
So then you have released 2 albums. One I think was in 2006. I love the title, Batchelor Party.
Yeah.
And I think those were cover songs for the most part.
Some classics that I just...
Yeah. And then you followed that in 2011 with Kevin Batchelor
Grand Concourse,
which is where you live in Brooklyn.
Where I live in the Bronx,
the Bronx. Okay, I thought that was kind of cool.
And that is co-produced my co-partner Johnny Myers.
Yes.
Who's an Austin musician, and he's from Queens originally, and we met at Flamingo Cantina. He was in a band called the Stingers, opening for the Scatolites that night, and we just became friends. And then when he finished his college stint, he moved back to Queens and started to write all these songs for me. He says, "Man, I love your voice, and I really want to do some writing with you." Cool. And we became like best friends, and so now we have Kevin Batchelor's Grand Concourse. That's been going pretty well. I mean, some really great music, and
he wrote many of the songs on there. Okay. Yeah. And that really leads me right into the next area, which is towards the end here, about Austin, Texas, and Micah Shalom. Austin, Texas, and I know I don't have to tell you, not only has Jamaican dogs, but has some of the greatest musicians and singers you can find anywhere. And I feel that Austin is on the verge of really blowing up as a scene, because the California festivals are starting, some of them are starting to die out. And we have so much talent here. So tell me a little bit about how you and Micah got together and this show that you're doing this weekend.
Well, Micah and I met, I guess you knew Joe.
Joe Lascano,
Yeah, Joe Lascano was a young man that worked with the Scatolites for years, friend of ours. And I don't know if Joe is from Gainesville originally.
Something like that.
He's from that area.
Yeah.
And then he had met Micah and teamed up and got us together. And I think when Micah and I met, we ended up, it was 3 tours.
We ended up doing
3 different times. So, and
2008 and 2009.
Okay. Yeah. And then Micah moved here. When did you move here?
2012. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So you guys met, and you must have started collaborating on some level to be doing a show together.
Yeah, well, the things we did with Cedric and everything, was, I think that was the beginning of what we're doing now. We enjoyed it so much, and I think Micah was relocating. It probably took him a little bit of a time to get in things together and get his musicians and kind of get into the scene.
Yeah.
And everything takes time. And he called me, and I was like, Michael, man.
I can't wait to see your show. I'm going to come tomorrow night because I think it's going to be. I'm always blown away by Micah's band. And are the Babylonians also playing tomorrow night?
Yeah, we're the backing band for Kevin. Just like we were back in 2008 and 9.
Yeah.
And also, so the way that went with Kevin and Cedric, actually, so both Kevin and Cedric are on the Babylonians' first album, Unity Swing, on different tracks. Kevin is on a track called Don Drummond's, as well as the title track, Unity Swing. So if you ever hear those tunes and a really good trumpet player starts to play, no, it's not me, it's actually Kevin.
I don't know if I'd say that, but
Micah
it's one or the other, right?
It's Micah. I let him.
No, but they always taking it to another level, so we give respect and thanks for that. And Cedric was on the tunes Babylonians, which is kind of like a remake of Confucius, but not really. It's similar, and so he blew what I think is the best solo that that I've ever put out on anything. I was like, oh man, Cedric, because and he just blew it first time, of course, first time he blew it. And we told him to play 2 more solos just because we wanted to hear him keep playing.
I know, right, for no other reason, just to hear this.
We took the first one,
So that's why
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the performance. So Micah, you also have a single that you just released.
Yes.
The video is totally awesome.
Thank you.
Or Austin awesome, I should
Yes,
say.
yes.
Tell us a little bit about it.
So Peace, Rights, Love is the track. The inspiration is kind of our current political situation and
It is.
really needing, and so the 5 things I sing is peace, rights, love, justice, and equality, and we really want that message to hit the world and hopefully let people know and light a fire for people to we went to the Capitol one day for the video.
Yeah.
And we didn't know there was going to be a protest there, but they were protesting, and it was the perfect protest. It was the people protesting were protesting the law that is gonna make it more illegal to protest pipelines.
Oh, boy.
And so it was a perfect kind of picture of what exactly is wrong,
Yeah.
and people out there who are fighting to make it better and hoping that if you stand up and you really
Speak
fight
out.
for you and your rights, that's a right to clean water, And so that's just one of the many things in the video and in the meaning of behind that track. So, and we just released it on Reggaeville today, and we got KUTX Song of the Day, which was amazing. And I was driving down the street hearing that. It was great. So
You'll be on my next playlist.
Yes, awesome. Thank you
Both
so
of you.
much. Awesome.
All right. So, Kevin, do you think you'll keep a strong connection to Austin, and what's coming next for you?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna do. Currently, I'm touring with the New York Ska Jazz Ensemble. That's my
Oh,
current road
cool.
gig. Rocksteady Freddie, great friend, was formerly of the Toasters.
Yes.
With, those guys, and he's formed this great group years ago. I'm currently touring with them, so I'm gonna head out with them in December on a European tour. Come back. Well, actually, the NYC Ska Orchestra, we have a couple gigs. I have a gig on Halloween coming up, and then the New Year's coming, and I'm planning maybe to come back here in April, do
Good.
something at 420.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I hope it's a good time. Timing is right, and the Austin Reggae Festival, I think, is going to begin to take over some of the gap that's been left in California with Sierra Nevada World Music Festival and Reggae on the River sort of disappearing.
Sad, man.
It
When I
is.
heard that this
Yeah.
year, I was like, are you kidding me? So many good memories at both of those
Oh, yeah.
festivals. So many memories, man.
Me too, and makes me sad, but when I saw the Austin Reggae Festival and where it has come from where it began,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
we have this opportunity to fill a gap. And so I'm all, as a DJ and a photographer, I'm all for trying to make that happen.
Cool.
And I want you to be part
I
of
would
it.
love to. It would be an honor. So we're going to work on that for the future. CDs are coming, records are coming out for the orchestra, and yeah, just keeping it moving, man.
And did you say you have a solo album coming also?
Well, it's the 18-piece jazz ska orchestra that I have,
Okay.
the NYC Ska Orchestra. That's
All
the
right.
recordings that I'm working on. Is my solo project, which is 18 people. But yeah, that's
All
what
right.
we're doing. And the New York Ska Jazz Ensemble is my touring band that I'm actually still on tour with.
Very good.
And if I could add, just also,
Sure.
tomorrow we're going to the studio, and Kevin's going to be on an upcoming release from Micah, Shalom. It's going to be the 1911 Rhythm, which I initially wrote for my grandmother. It's a very positive track,
Yes,
so I wanted to put a very positive man with his positive trumpet
We'll do our
on that
best.
track too. So
And
yeah.
maybe you can slide in a jingle for Sista Irie.
All right.
Both of
hey.
you. All right. Well, I want to thank you both. I know you're busy getting ready to go to San Antonio.
Yeah.
And we look forward to your show tomorrow night
Thank
in
you so
Austin.
much.
Where is it in Austin
It's
tomorrow night?
at a place called South Park Meadows
Oh,
at
yeah.
the Grove, and it's an amphitheater built in somewhere in South Park Meadows.
I think that's where
shopping
Peter
center.
Tosh
Yeah.
played when he was here.
Oh wow.
Mhm.
Well, awesome.
All right, then,
Looking forward
give
to it.
thanks.
Thank
Come
you.
back and
Thank
see
you
us
so much.
again.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Micah.
Great to see you.
Good.
A lot of love
Great to see you.
coming your way.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.